People often ask me how I became a prenatal medium. Well, I was actually a hospice volunteer and I was studying to be a death midwife, somebody that ushers souls from this life into what comes next. When my instructor said the words prenatal medium, and when she did, my whole body just lit up. And I knew that I had done this kind of work before in a past life. I actually had a vision of me working side by side with my teacher. Well, not long after that, I was at a retreat center at a conference in the Santa Cruz Mountains in California, and our instructor took us through a visualization of our future selves. And as I sat there, I saw a clear vision of me talking to a room full of pregnant women, teaching them how to communicate with the souls of their babies. Now, I was there to learn how to be a business coach, but that is the vision that my future self showed me. And not long after that, I went to a class at a local spiritual bookstore about death. And when we were there, we were introducing ourselves to each other. And I said, I'm a prenatal medium. And that sent a little buzz through our group. And the gentleman next to me asked, when does a soul attach to the body? And I didn't know. So I opened myself up to receive an answer. And sitting in the back of that room that was much too big for our group on a hard metal chair, I was shown the beauty of how a life begins. I was shown conception and a beautiful luminous silver cord that's created between the soul and the new body. A cord that stays intact until death, whenever that may be. Now, about a year later, I'm at that same retreat center in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and the teacher says, we're going to Africa. And again, I just knew that I was meant to be on that trip. I tried to ask, I'm going to check and see when we're going, when the Africa trip is, how much it is. The only thing that would come out of my mouth was, I'm going to Africa. And sure enough, a few months later, I found myself on a 30+ hour trip across the planet to Uganda. I had some high hopes that maybe I would actually make a connection and meet the person that had been my teacher in that other life. I was convinced that she was back again having a new life of her own and that she was in Africa. A lot of amazing things happened that week, but I actually didn't have a glimmer of recognition in anybody that I met. And on our last day, we're making our way to our last stop, which was a hospital. We were visiting a hospital. And the bus bumped into the dirt parking lot. And I step out of the bus. And the first thing I see is a building right in front in the hospital that says morgue across the side. Not hidden in the basement to keep friends and family from thinking about what might come next. And we made our way down an outside walkway to meet the administrator of the hospital. And up walks Sister Angela. And I knew this was my teacher. The recognition I felt, it was like honey dripping over my shoulders. It was so comforting. And I looked over at my friend and I said, that's her. Because my friend knew what I'd been hoping for. And she came over and we greeted each other with a warm hug. And I wondered if she had any recognition of me. Well, right then we were released to go explore the hospital on our own. And I was drawn to the back, out to a courtyard. And as I stepped into the courtyard, at the very back, there was a building with a little sign that said maternity. And curiosity was just screaming inside of me. But I would never go in without an invitation. It was almost like Sister Angela heard my pleas from wherever she was, because she came around the corner, walked up to me, pushed me, and said, go in. And then she just walked away. So I made my way in. The first room had benches with a few expecting fathers. And the second room had beds lined up all along the right side and all along the left. The second bed on the right side had a woman with her newborn. She was very proud to show off. And then the nurse came up and informed us all the beds on the right were for women that had had babies or were in delivery. And then the left side of the room, the beds were for women that had lost their babies. We made our way down the right side of the room and we turned the corner, and there was a woman sitting on the end of the second bed. And our eyes met. And in that moment, I knew that no matter how long a soul came, whether it was for a few months in utero or 70, 80 years on the planet, they have had a life. They've lived, they've learned, they've taught. And as I was looking in this woman's eyes, she smiled at me. And I just knew in my heart that she knew too. But we're sitting on the bus waiting to depart, and I decided to hop up and say goodbye to Sister Angela. I walk up to her, give her a big hug, and she looked me in the eyes and said, "We will meet again." And my heart sang because I knew that she recognized me too.